Well, this is it, the final big episode of the prediction cycle of the college football season, as I'm going to be making my official college football playoff picks and be making my predictions for each of the lesser bowl games. This is something we did last year. You guys absolutely loved it, and we're going to be making this a tradition here on the channel. If you guys want to participate and compete, I will leave the link down in the description below, and you guys can compete in this bowl challenge, and we can have a little bit of fun here in the community. Before we start making our picks, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you are new, leave a comment, let me know how you guys think these games are going to play out, and be sure to check out my Patreon page. For $5 a month, you guys will get exclusive access to weekly polls to allow you guys to vote on which prospect spotlights you guys would be interested in seeing. You guys will also be able to access my full in-depth draft guide with over 550 prospects and counting. It's something I'm very, very proud of, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy. But let's start predicting, shall we? I want to go in this order here. We'll go in the standard order because I do want to see what bowl games we're going to be talking about. It is going to be Jackson State versus South Carolina State. Matchup of two HBCUs. Give me Jackson State. This is a team that has been really competitive. They had multiple all-conference players, and I believe they won their conference. This is a really solid team that has stayed competitive even without Deion Sanders over the last few years. So I'm going to pick them, and you know what? We're going to go to the other way. We're not going to really talk about which bowl games or which. We're just going to be picking the matchups. I don't really think it matters all that much here. South Alabama and Western Michigan. Two very interesting teams as well. South Alabama is going to be my pick. They are the favorites in this one. They've had some really intriguing moments at times this year. They've put up a lot of points. They've had some high-scoring games. I think they've got a high-flying offense, and I think they're going to be able to win this one against a Western Michigan team. At number 25, or the next one, we got number 25, Memphis versus West Virginia. Memphis is a really good team. I don't think a lot of people are giving Memphis the respect that they deserve. They ended up making my final top 25. They've got receivers. Rock Taylor's been a big piece. I really like Seth Hennigan. I think this team has a really good offense, and West Virginia yes, they can run the ball effectively, but they fired their head coach. It's going to be a weird situation there for them. I'm going to go with Memphis to get this win. Then we've got Western Kentucky and James Madison. Pretty interesting matchup here. I think we are going to go Western Kentucky, though. This is going to be the first underdog against the spread pick I've got. James Madison's a good team. I like Western Kentucky, though. I think they've got some playmakers offensively. They've got a secondary that I think is really strong, and I think they can make some noise here. We're in their conference title game. They did get absolutely destroyed in that game. Nonetheless, I think that the Hilltoppers are going to beat I believe they're the Dukes. Cal and UNLV. This is a game that is going to be interesting. Barry Odom left UNLV to go take the Purdue job, and that is a reason why I'm going to pick Cal in this game. Cal is they're a team that has kind of had the bad end of the draw this year. They've had some really good moments this year. I think they've got a strong secondary. I think they've got a good running game. And I think Fernando Mendoza has been good for them as well. But they just haven't really turned a lot of that into wins. I think they're going to be able to win this game against UNLV. UNLV is a good team. They ended up finishing second in the Mountain West. But I think Barry Odom's a really good coach. And that's a loss that this team is really going to miss next year. Give me the Golden Bears in this one. Then we got Georgia Southern and Sam Houston. I like Sam Houston in this game. They've been one of the better stories in college football, a team that came up from the FCS level just a couple of years ago, and they have really turned things around. Love this team. Love the way they play. I don't think Georgia Southern is going to get this one done. And then we've got Ohio versus Jacksonville State. Ohio was the MAC champions. Jacksonville State were the American champions. I kind of like Jacksonville State in this one. Another one we're going to go against the spread. I think they're good in the trenches. Clay Webb is one of my favorite prospects in the upcoming draft class. I think they can run the ball effectively, and they're another team that came up from the FCS level just a couple of years ago, and they've looked really strong. So give me I believe they're also the Gamecocks. Give me Jacksonville State to win this one. Then we got Tulane in Florida. Now a bit of an update here. Tulane has lost their last 2 games, and on top of that, it looks like they're losing their quarterback to the portal. Florida is a team that is one of the hottest teams in college football, and DJ Lagway has been incredible for them this year. I really like this Florida team, and they're a team that I think if you can win this bowl game and go into next year with some serious momentum, I think you would feel excellent about your chances moving forward to be a real contender. I'm a big fan of what the Gators accomplished in the second half of this year. Billy Napier saved his job, and I think they get a big win against Tulane. Now, for these ones, the first round of the college football playoff matchups, I'm just going to go with the picks that I made in my prediction video. So if you guys want my full thoughts there, go be sure to check that out. I think Notre Dame, a little bit more physical in the trenches in Indiana. Penn State, I think their pass rush is really going to land against SMU. Texas, well, I think Clemson is going to keep this game close. I lean Texas, and I think Ohio State a little bit more balanced. So those are kind of my Spark Notes version of that. If you want my full thoughts on that, I have full previews of all 4 of those matchups that we can talk about. Be sure to go check that one out. Then we've got UTSA and Coastal Carolina. All right, an interesting one here. I like UTSA. I think they've been pretty competitive the last couple of years. Unfortunately, this season, things didn't really go the way that they had planned, but I still think they're a good team. They've got some players on this team that are bound for the NFL, and I'm going to go with the Roadrunners to beat the Chanticleers. Northern Illinois, who pulled off one of the biggest upsets of the season against Notre Dame, taking on Fresno State. I believe Fresno State also lost their head coach. Interesting one. I like this Fresno State team. I think they're pretty solid, but I'm going to go with Northern Illinois just with the uncertainty there with the coaching for the Bulldogs. South Florida, San Jose State. Give me South Florida. I like Byron Brown. I like this run game for the Bulls. I think they can move the ball effectively, and I think they're overall a solid team. San Jose State had a solid year in the Mountain West, but I like these Bulls of South Florida. Pitt versus Toledo, maybe my favorite under-the-radar bowl matchup, a matchup that I think is going to be really competitive. Toledo is a really solid team. I think they've got real players on the defensive side of the ball. Darius Alexander, Maxon Hook, they've got guys that can really lock down. But for Pitt, this is a team that their passing game is really good. I do think, though, if you're in a drop-back passing situation, I'm going to favor Toledo here. I'm going to pick a bit of an upset here. Maybe not as much an upset. Toledo did beat an SEC team this year. I think they're really competitive. I like the Rockets in this one. Kansas State and Rutgers. Rutgers, another one of those kind of sneaky teams in the Big Ten this year. They can run the ball. I think they had one of the best offensive lines in all of college football. In Kansas State, they can run the ball effectively, but I think the passing has been a bit of an issue for them at times. I'm going to go with Rutgers in this one. I think they're probably going to be the underdogs, but I like the Scarlet Knights. I thought they looked really solid. Give me Rutgers. Arkansas State and Bowling Green. I'm going to go with the Falcons in this one. I just think Harold Fannin is the difference maker for them. They got the best player in the matchup. Arkansas State, good season, but I'm going to go with Bowling Green here. Oklahoma and Navy. Really fun one here. Oklahoma didn't have the season that they were necessarily hoping for. Navy also, they exceeded expectations, but they also played the American competition. And when they went up against better schools in the American, they struggled. I think Oklahoma is a little bit more physical. They're going to be able to win in the trenches. Give me the Sooners. Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt is maybe my favorite bowl game. I know I said that with Pitt and Toledo. That I think there's a top 5 here. I think Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt is an awesome game. 2 teams with 2 very similar seasons. Georgia Tech played spoiler for a lot of the season. Vanderbilt had a couple of big upsets. I like this Georgia Tech team, though. I think they're really good in the trenches, particularly the offensive line. I think has been really solid. They can run the ball with Haynes King, Jamal Haynes. I think they've got a little bit better weapons. So give me Georgia Tech to pull off this win. And then Texas Tech and Arkansas. Arkansas is kind of in a similar spot for me as Georgia Tech. I think this Arkansas team is better than their record shows. Obviously a tough SEC schedule, but they beat Tennessee. They can run the ball. I think Taylor Green is a really good quarterback, and I think they can get this win against Texas Tech. So give me Arkansas to beat the Red Raiders. Syracuse versus Washington State. Really interesting one here. Washington State had a really good season. Granted, weaker schedule, not playing in the Pac-12, but I do think I'm going to go with Syracuse. This will probably be Kyle McCord's final college football game. Fran Brown has done a heck of a job recruiting, landing players for this Orange team, and I think this is a game that they're going to go out and get the win against Washington State, who lost their offensive coordinator. He went and took the Oklahoma job. I'm going to take Syracuse. Texas A&M, USC. I'm going to go with Texas A&M. USC barely was bowl eligible this year, and I don't think they're a very good team. They're not very physical. They don't have the playmakers that I think they would like to have. Kyron Hudson's hitting the portal. Miller Moss is gone. I think A&M is the better team here, and they're going to pull off a win against USC. UConn and North Carolina. Now, North Carolina seems to be in the mix for Bill Belichick as their head coach. What a story that would be. But I think UConn is the better team. This is a team that has been really impressive. FBS independent, but they've made some noise. They've looked really comfortable and confident this year. Really love what we've seen from the Huskies. I think they get a win. Boston College and Nebraska. Boston College, 7-5, got off to a pretty hot start, definitely cooled off later in the year. Nebraska, same deal. Got off to a hot start, cooled off, never really were able to bounce back. Nebraska's losing some key players on the offensive and defensive side of the ball to the portal. I'm going to take Boston College for that reason. I think losing James Williams, Prince Will, Uman they've got a lot of players to kind of make up the gap for, and I think Boston College will get it done. Louisiana versus TCU. I like TCU skill positions. That's going to be the difference maker in this one. Savion Williams, Jack Betch. You've also got, who's their third receiver? Eric McAllister. They've got some guys that I think are going to be real threats in this game against this Louisiana defense. Give me the Horned Frogs. Iowa State and Miami. Maybe the most exciting game for a lot of people. I don't really know. I'm guessing Cam Ward probably won't play in this game. I'm guessing Restrepo probably won't play in this game. Iowa State's run defense, though, really bad. Miami's got one of the better rushing attacks in the country with Damian Martinez, with Cam Ward. Even if those guys don't play, I like the depth that Miami has there. I'm going to go with the Hurricanes. Miami of Ohio versus Colorado State. Colorado State, impressive season. I think Miami, Ohio, that MAC play, I just think they're more physical, and that's going to be the difference maker on this one. East Carolina, NC State. Fun matchup here. Give me East Carolina. Not a big fan of NC State season. They were a big disappointment for me. Picked them to finish pretty high in the ACC. Injuries to the quarterback. Casey Concepcion's gone. The defense had its struggles. East Carolina is going to be the pick for me. BYU and Colorado, another one of these matchups that I'm really excited about. Deion said that Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders would play, and that gives the benefit to Colorado for me. BYU is a good football team. I don't think they're as good as this Colorado team when everything is clicking. I think the offense for Colorado really flipped the switch in the second half of the season. The defense has been really good. I think they're going to make life difficult on BYU, and I think Colorado gets a win. Marshall versus Army. I'm going to go with Army in this one. Marshall's losing their head coach. A lot of turmoil there, even after winning the MAC or the Sun Belt Championship, I should say. Yeah, I don't love the look of it. I'm going to go with Army. Iowa and Missouri. I'm going to go with Iowa in this one. I think Iowa's defense is going to be the difference maker. I think they're really going to try and prove that this offense can put points up. That's been a struggle for them for a very long time, but they're trying to land a top transfer quarterback. I think the best way to do that is to go put on an offensive show, which I think they're going to be able to do against a Missouri team that wasn't that great this year. At number 11, Alabama is taking on Michigan. I don't think it's going to be close. Michigan's not a very good football team. The defense is probably going to be resting a lot of their guys that are going to be headed to the NFL. I don't really know what to expect from the offense. They don't have a lot of playmakers. They don't have a quarterback I trust. Alabama has those things. I think Alabama gets the win. Louisville and Washington. I like the running attack of Louisville. I think that's going to be the difference maker. Isaac Brown, the true freshman sensation, is, I think, going to be a difference maker. I like this Washington team moving forward with Denzel Boston. They've got some nice quarterback depth there, but I think Louisville gets this win. South Carolina, Illinois. South Carolina was the hottest team in the second half of the college football season. I think they get this win, beat the Illini. I think Lenora Sellers is a real Heisman candidate next year. I'm going to go with South Carolina. Baylor and LSU. LSU disappointed. Baylor overexceeded expectations this year. So take that as you will. I think LSU is the more talented team, though. I expect Garrett Nussmeier to play in this one. I don't know if he's headed to the NFL or what's going to happen there. Either way, I think LSU is the more talented team than Baylor, and I think that's going to get them the win here. And then we've got some interesting ones here. So I'm guessing I'm guessing that's how we're going to have to do this. So SMU versus Penn State versus Boise State. We picked Penn State in that one. Penn State, Boise State would be the matchup here in the second round. I like this Boise State team. I like the way they're able to run the ball. I actually think their defense is better than we're giving it credit for. Maddox Maxson played solid at the quarterback position, but if you're going up against Penn State like I have them, I really don't think they're going to have the firepower to stay with a Penn State team where their defense is going to be the best defense that they faced all year long. Genty's going to get his, but if they're able to stop the run, how is Boise going to respond? And I don't know if they have those types of answers. So give me Penn State in this one. Clemson or Texas versus Arizona State. I don't think Arizona State would get this done. I especially if Jordan Tyson's out. They're going to be trying to get it going with Cam Scadaboo, and Texas is really good at stuffing the run. I think they're just the better team, and I think Texas would advance to the next round. Then Oregon versus Ohio State, the rematch, and I think it would go the same way it went the first time. I think Oregon right now is playing some of the best football in the country. The defense has improved so much from where it was just a year ago, and I think that this team is built for the playoffs. I think Dan Lanning has proven he can now get a win in a big game, won the Big Ten in his first year, was able to beat Ohio State earlier this season, and I think that this team has just gotten better since that moment. So I'm going to take them to beat Ohio State again. And then Notre Dame versus Georgia. I'm going to go with the upset here. I think Notre Dame would get that win. Georgia won the SEC. It was a great run for them. I don't think this team's talented enough on the offensive side of the ball. I don't think they have the playmakers that you are looking for to win a big-time game. I don't know what the status is going to be for Carson Beck. I think Notre Dame is going to pull off a massive upset here, beat Georgia, and advance to the college football playoff semifinals. Duke versus Ole Miss. I'm going to go with Ole Miss. I like this Duke team. They're really good at blitzing. They're well coached by Manny Diaz, but I think Ole Miss, they feel a little bit disrespected that the committee left them out of the playoffs. I don't really understand the full reason, but either way, I think Ole Miss gets the win. North Texas, Texas State. I'm going to go with Texas State. Like their team a little bit better. I think they're a little bit better on the offensive side of the ball, particularly the trenches. Minnesota and Virginia Tech. I like Minnesota in this game. I thought Minnesota was one of the more underrated teams in the country this year. They had a good defense. They had an offense that played really well, particularly between the tackles running. I like Daniel Jackson. I'm going to go with the Golden Gophers. And then Buffalo and Liberty, we'll go with Liberty in this one. So then we're going to go back down. So in this case, it would be Penn State versus Notre Dame. And super interesting matchup here. Penn State, Notre Dame for a spot in the national title game. I mean, who would have thought that would be the case? I like Notre Dame, though. I love the way that this team can run the football, but I think the defense is a little bit better. I don't trust James Franklin and the big moments, and I think that's going to be the difference maker here. Big fan of what Notre Dame has been able to accomplish. I think they're going to go to the national championship to face either Oregon or Texas, and I'm going to go with Oregon. They are the more complete team in the trenches, I think, than Texas, and I think I trust the quarterback more. I trust Dylan Gabriel more than I trust Quinn Ewers, and that's going to be the difference here, which gives us an Oregon versus Notre Dame national title game. And ultimately, I think the Oregon Ducks are going to get the win. We'll just say that that's Oregon. But I think Oregon is going to win the national championship. They've been the best team in college all season long. Their defense is physical. They've definitely broken the mold of the Oregon teams of the past. I think they're ready for this big moment. I think the Ducks are going to be your 2025 national champions. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? We'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.